going to try a little bit now and I'll let you know. That's delicious. They're not that spicy, I have to say. You can definitely tell there's ginger in there. Hi everyone and welcome back to Googie's Kitchen, and if you are new here then hello and welcome. My name is Alexis and in today's video I want to share with you how to make my delicious cardamom, ginger and rose biscuits / cookies. As I just mentioned, today I want to share with you how to make my delicious biscuits / cookies. We love biscuits in this house and we normally always have a stash of them somewhere in the kitchen. Recently we've run out, so I thought it was about time I made some more, and this time I've decided to use some spices and rose petals as well. I have used rose petals in biscuits before, but I've never used them with spices, and I have used spices and rose petals in a hot chocolate drink. So the other day I made a rose and cardamom hot chocolate, and I will link that recipe in the description box below for you. It was delicious, so I decided to use those two ingredients in this recipe, and I've also decided to add a bit of ginger as well because my husband loves ginger. So I'm hoping that these turn out okay. I'm going to try and make them into thin biscuits as well. So the first thing I've done for this recipe is I've weighed out all of my ingredients, and the first ingredient I have is some rice flour. I've got about 100 grams of rice flour. Now if you haven't got rice flour then you could always use plain flour. I've also got 100 grams of almond flour as well. Almond flour is, I would say you would need almond flour. You can't really use ground almonds. You are going to grind it up, but it doesn't make it thin enough, so I would always recommend almond flour. But if you can't get almond flour and you can't get rice flour, then 200 grams of plain flour is okay as well. And then I'm going to use some oats. I've got some gluten-free oats in here. I have a slight gluten intolerance, so that's why I always use gluten-free oats and rice flour in my recipes. And I'm going to pour these into my blender, hopefully without spilling it as well. So I'm just going to pour all of these ingredients in, like so. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in about 2 tablespoons of ginger. So I've got about 2 tablespoons of ground ginger in here. And then I'm also going to add in some rose petals as well. So I've got about 2 teaspoons of rose petals, and I've got 1 teaspoon of ground cardamom, and I've got a teaspoon of baking powder as well. And I'm just going to pour all of those ingredients in, like so. And then I'm going to put my lid on. I'm just going to take that out as well. And I'm going to blend these ingredients together, but while I'm blending them, I'm going to mix them from the top with my spatula that came with it. It helps to grind from the top as well as the bottom, so I'm just going to grind all of these together now. Blending those ingredients together and they formed a flour like so, and now what I'm going to do is I am going to cream the butter and the sugar together. So in this bowl here I have about 150 grams of unsalted butter and about 150 grams of maple syrup. Now you don't have to use maple syrup if you don't want to. You could use sugar. I normally like to use coconut sugar, but unfortunately I don't have any today. So I'm using maple syrup. Maple syrup is another sugar that kind of sinks through the liver slightly easier than refined sugar does. Obviously it's still a sugar, so you shouldn't have too much of it, but it is slightly better for our bodies than refined sugar is. So now I'm going to do, as I said, is just cream these ingredients together. So I creamed the butter and the sugar together, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold in the flour that I made earlier. So I'm just going to fold the flour in, like so. So I'm just going to put it in, and then just fold it in until it forms a dough ball. So I want this to form a big dough ball, and then I'll roll it out and make it into the biscuits. The mixture has formed a lovely dough ball, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flour a board, and then I'm going to grab some of the dough, like so, just with my hands, and I'm going to pat that down. I'm going to try and roll this out as thinly as possible. I wanted to make sort of ginger thins today, so I thought I'd try and roll the dough as thinly as I possibly can. I think that's thin. So I've rolled it to probably about an inch of its life now. I think I've probably rolled that to about 1/4 centimetre, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the dough out. I have a heart-shaped cookie cutter here, and I'm going to use this and a couple of others as well. I'm going to use a star as well, and I thought these were quite nice cookie cutters for Valentine's Day. If you are celebrating Valentine's Day today, then this would make a really great present, or a treat for a loved one or a friend. So I'm going to put these onto the board like so. And I also wanted to say that if you have enjoyed this video today and you want to see more, then please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you did really enjoy this video today, then please feel free to give it a big thumbs up. Everything like that really helps me out, and I would really appreciate it as well. So I'm just going to continue now to cut out the cookies from the dough. I've finished rolling out all of the dough, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop these into the fridge. Now you might be wondering why I put them in the fridge. It's simply because it makes them crispier and crunchier when I put them into the oven. So in a moment I'm going to preheat my oven to about 180 degrees, and I'm going to pop some baking trays into the oven while it preheats, so the baking trays will be nice and warm, and then I'm going to put the cold biscuits on the warm baking trays, and hopefully that will penetrate them with heat and make them a bit crispier. I am using Pampered Chef stoneware baking trays, and Pampered Chef stoneware baking trays tend to absorb the badness and leave the goodness. So if you can get stoneware, I would recommend it while cooking biscuits, because it really does make them that bit crispier and crunchier, I have to say. So as I said, I'm off to pop these into the fridge for about 30 minutes, and then I will preheat my oven and pop them onto the baking trays and put them in, and hopefully we'll have some delicious biscuits in no time. The oven has preheated, and I have transferred the biscuits from the chopping boards to the baking tray, and I'm going to pop these into the oven now for about 5 minutes. I'm going to check on them after 5 minutes. They are quite thin, so I didn't want to leave them in for any longer in case they burn. So I'm going to try these for 5 minutes, and then if I need to add more time, I will. So as I said, I'm just going to pop those in and cook them for about 5 minutes. The biscuits have been in for 5 minutes, but they are still a little bit anemic, so I'm going to leave them in for a little bit longer. They are starting to go golden brown, but I think I'm going to leave them in for 5 more minutes and then see how they are. The biscuits have been in for another 5 minutes, and they are looking a lovely golden brown colour, so I'm going to take these out and I'm going to leave them to cool. I removed the biscuits from the stoneware, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try one and let you know how it tastes. They smell really good, I have to say. They do smell very good, so I'm just going to try a little bit now and I'll let you know. That's delicious. They're not that spicy, I have to say. You can definitely tell there's ginger in there, and rose as well, and a slight hint of cardamom. But those three ingredients really complement each other really well. And that is delicious. So I'm looking forward to a couple of these this afternoon with a cup of tea. That's how you make my delicious biscuits slash cookies, and that recipe I will link in the description box below for you. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be having a couple of these with a cup of tea this afternoon, and I know that I have a slight dairy intolerance, but occasionally I can't help myself when it comes to buttery biscuits. These are delicious, and as I mentioned earlier, they would make a really lovely gift for a friend or relative or lover, if you know what I mean. So for now, that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to give me a big thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and please feel free to leave any comments below, and please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. See you all soon. Bye.